Good day, everyone. Welcome to Blacklogic. So, we're witnessing a series of bold moves from President Trump that are set to reshape both our domestic policies and international relations. So, let's dive right in. Now, first up, in the Middle East, crisis intensifies as Hamas has outright rejected President Trump's ultimatum to release all hostages. Instead, they're demanding a lasting ceasefire in exchange for any further releases. The standoff raises concerns about the frugality of the current truce in Gaza. The president's firm stance follows direct negotiations between the U.S. and Hamas, highlighting the complexities of international diplomacy. So Hamas is doubling down and stating, well, we need to extend the ceasefire deal or we won't have a deal. It won't be extended. So there have other been reports is that Israel, by the way of Benjamin Netanyahu, their president, king, prime minister, whatever, top government official, is starting to attack Gaza, these very small scale attacks. It states here that Hamas have been believed to have 24 living hostages taken in October 7th, that they still have 24 hostages, living hostages alive, but they also have hostages who have passed away in their custody. And President Trump, as well as Israeli officials, are stating that they need to release all of them or they will be going back to war. So again, Hamas is playing hardball, Israel is playing hardball. And then of course, I wouldn't take Donald Trump's threats. I wouldn't take his warnings as empty. So hopefully they can come to another agreement because again, most people are really thinking about, the terrorists. But we have to understand that these terrorists are embedded in everyday regular citizens of Palestine. And it's the Palestinian citizens who are being killed. I don't have a side that I'm choosing when it comes to Israelis or people from Israel, or Palestinians or people from Palestine. I don't have a side, but I do have the side of life. And again, people like to always go back to October 7th of 2023, the terrorist attack. Again, Palestinian citizens didn't do that to Israeli citizens. That was Hamas, and they're separate. And it's supposedly reports have it that it's over 40,000 innocent Palestinians who have been killed by the way of this war that's going on between the terrorist group and the whole state of Israel. So hopefully the ceasefire deal can be extended because we're talking about saving lives. Now, I hope that Hamas, whoever committed this, an atrocity of an event, that they did totally be wiped off the face of the earth. All terrorist groups should be wiped off the face of the earth. So I just want to make sure I put that disclaimer out there. Nonetheless, because again, being a former Marine, being a former soldier myself, I will want all terrorist groups to be wiped from the face of the earth. Let's just remember 9/11. Let me carry on. Also, in related news, the United Nations World Food Program has sounded the alarm, stating that they have less than 2 weeks worth of supplies left for Gaza. The ongoing blockade has severely restricted access to essential goods, exacerbating the humanitarian crisis in the region. Aid organizations are scrambling to dispute the dwindling resources, but without immediate intervention, the situation could become catastrophic. Now, this could be another way that Israel, as well as America, put pressure on Hamas to release the hostages. Now, I know why Hamas has not released the hostages. And this is me speculating. The reason why I believe that Hamas has yet to release the hostages is because they want assurances, like Ukrainian President Zelensky. He wants security guarantees that this ceasefire leads into a peace deal of us regaining our land, the Gaza Strip, the area of Gaza, parts of Palestine, that Israel does not come further inside of Palestine than what they already are in occupied land. Those are the reports. But I believe that they want a stronger either ceasefire deal or even sign a peace treaty with some guarantees, and then they will release all the hostages living or passed away, or unalive rather. That is what I believe. I'm pretty sure. I wouldn't think that a terrorist group like Hamas, who stated that The reason why we're at war, the reason why we started these heinous acts is because Israel is occupying our land. They have infiltrated our land. They're trying to take over our land. They're trying to eliminate all Palestinians. So this terrorist groups, which Palestine call them a terrorist group as well. It's kind of like in Nigeria, Boko Haram, Nigerians label them a terrorist group as well. And no matter the ideology, okay, no matter the ideology, that is what I believe. Is it justified? Absolutely not. This is not the way you go about things, is by force when you know you can be annihilated. You know that the U.S. are friends and allies of Israel. And if you have America as your friend and ally, and that we're going to just open our checkbook, we're going to open up our military arsenal, you're done for. And unfortunately, they have intertwined themselves. They have mixed and mingled among the Palestinian citizens who are not involved in this war against Israel. They're the most people that are being harmed. And that's the part of it. I hope they can come to a peaceful resolution instead of more innocent people getting killed on both sides. On both sides. Now, this is very intriguing because I'm somewhat against this. Because as we're looking at the home front here, President Trump is expected to sign an executive order to dismantle the Department of Education. This move aims to shift control of education back to states, aligning with the administration's goal to reduce federal oversight. While some applaud the decision as a step towards localized control, critics argue it could undermine public education and disrupt essential programs. The legal challenges ahead are significant given the department's establishment is rooted in congressional action. Now, at first, I was thinking that each state can construct their own Department of Education, right? They can use the repository, they can use the legendary information that the federal government has and store it in their own local repository so they know what universities and colleges are accredited, and if they're nationally accredited or regionally accredited. There's a lot of things that the Department of Education actually handles, but again, you have that federal oversight. Now, dismantling the Department of Education, I came to the conclusion that it's very feasible if the states then construct their own Department of Education. But, where's the hierarchy that the federal government always comes into play by judicial reasons of stating that when you put a lawsuit against your state's Department of Education and you don't get the resolution and you have enough verifiable information and evidence to bring it to a higher court, like say the Supreme Court, what committee, what board will be in place in the federal government that will oversee this with the judges? So again, you may not need to have a whole organization, but I think that the federal government still would need some sort of committee or board, and not that they would involve themselves, inject themselves in state municipalities and try to control their Department of Education. But again, an oversight committee, because here's the thing, we always need, and this is my opinion because people are very corrupt, politicians are very corrupt, people in government can be very corrupt, and I don't mean the people that are at the low or the middle, but when you get into those GS 15s and 16s that bump elbows with generals and congressmen and senators, that's when the corruptions really start for me. But if they had a board or committee that when certain issues arise that they can handle and assist the states, because again, some of these states that may not have a large GDP for their local economies may not have the funds that they need of these loans and or grants. Again, we can wipe away all these federal grants and loans that the federal government provides. Are the state going to provide those same loans and grants? Like, well, no, because then may increase the state's debt. Okay, are we going to reduce the amount that college students are paying for tuition each and every year? I knew a guy who owed $70,000. He went to Penn State, $70,000. I know, well, how much was you paying a year? I forgot, he told me something like $35,000 or $40,000. So I want you to think about how much school costs in America. That's why a lot of people, they go to school in these other countries. They just come back to America to take a couple of classes, and then they can have an American degree for a fraction of the price, for an eighth of the price that they paid in another country, because they already have the information. Same information, but they need to take a couple of classes to confirm that they know the information, and then they get that degree and from one of the American universities. And quite frankly, a lot of our businesses, when it comes to a lot of these tech and medical, they do have to take certain classes or make sure their licenses transfer over. There's a couple of things they have to do. But it's still cheaper in the long run of going to school overseas, and we shouldn't want that. We should want Americans to go to school in America unless they want some sort of international trade student program, which is perfectly fine. But we should make it affordable for Americans to go to college in America, where we're not going to these other countries because education is cheaper and we want a higher degree. We want a bachelor's, a master's. Some people want PhDs, medical degrees. We have to go to other countries and come back. It shouldn't be like that. College is big business in America because people are in debt from obtaining higher education to go out and try to live a better life in America. People are in debt for 20, 30, 40 years. They have to put their loans on deferred because they're trying to pay their bills. So they may take an additional class to try to push off the debt collectors of the Department of Education. It don't matter if it's state or local, you still owe that money. And here's the thing about a lot of people, and don't get me wrong, there was people on the Republican side, conservative side, liberal side, Democratic side. They were actually for student debt relief. You know why? Because they had student debt. And we're not talking about a measly $5,000 or $10,000, which is still a lot of money for a lot of people, even myself. But we're talking about $50,000, $60,000, $70,000, $80,000. They really wanted student debt relief. And they feel as though that it was warranted because, and here's the point. We send hundreds of billions of dollars overseas, and the USAID or USAID organization, through federal organizations like that, congressional legislation that sends money overseas for all these weird, wacky experiment programs, hundreds of billions of dollars. But we cannot relieve the debt of US American citizens. So that 80 grand that you make, the 150 grand that you make, solely goes to the way that you live, how you can take care of your family, the cost of living wages and groceries, where instead of buying frozen vegetables or canned vegetables, you can buy fresh vegetables. Instead of buying sirloin steak, you can buy ribeye steak, high fat content, more flavor profile. You guys know what I'm talking about, or whatever it may be. You want grass-fed, grass-finished beef. You want free-range chicken eggs, whatever. But no, you got to go to Walmart. You got to go to this store and whatever, GMO and biotics and steroids that they pumped inside the cow. You have to eat that because you can't afford, because you're paying student debt. So I get it. And hopefully, I understand the federal government is not the overseer of the states. That's why states have their own president, AKA governors, and they have lieutenant governors or assistant governors or whatever, vice governors. Okay, they have all the terminology depending on what state you are. But again, I understand, and hopefully we can get these things together all together, because I guess when I look at this, a pressing issues arises about this situation altogether. What happens to student loans? What happens to student loans if the Department of Education is dissolved? I want to go back there because a lot of people depend on these student loans. The department currently oversees a 1.6 trillion portfolio of student loans. 1.6 trillion. And again, a lot of us can't really fathom $1 trillion. So I try to dumb it down just a little bit, not calling you guys dumb at all. You're very intelligent. But for me, right? Because when I think about $100,000, I know exactly what $100,000 is. Because if you ever bought a house, you ever bought a car, the more money you make, the more you buy, right? So you start to understand these different echelons of $1,000, $10,000, $100,000. You start to understand the gravity of it. Then I started to think that it takes $100,000 to make a million. Okay, cool. Then you think about 10 million, and then you start to think about 100 million. Then you start to think that in order for you to have $1 billion, you need to have 1,000 million dollars. Then you raise the bar up a little bit. In order for you to have $1 trillion, you need 1,000 billion dollars. Like, I can't even fathom that amount of money. It's astronomical. But the Department of Education has been giving out loans, and they have had a student loan portfolio worth $1.6 trillion. Just imagine how many Americans are affected. Don't worry, I'll help you. 44 million Americans are affected. Now, if dismantled, the responsibility for these loans will likely shift to another federal entity, such as the Treasury Department. It's going to go to the Treasury Department. And this transition could lead to significant disruption in loan servicing repayment plans and forgiveness programs, leaving borrowers, those people who took out those loans, in a state of uncertainty. These are some of the things that we have to really look at. These are some of the things that we truly have to look at here. Okay, let's move on. I just wanted to beat the drum on that very quickly. But as we're turning to the economy, the stock market experienced a surge following President Trump's announcement of a 1-month exemption for the U.S. automakers from new tariffs on imports from Mexico and Canada. And this temporary reprieve aims to alleviate the immediate financial burden on the auto industry, which have been bracing for increased production costs. While automakers shares saw a brief rally, the looming implementation of the 25% tariffs after the exemption period continues to cast a shadow over the industry's future profitability. Now, the ripple effects of U.S. trade policies are being felt worldwide. Global stock markets have been under pressure due to concerns over potential tariffs on auto imports. And European automakers in particular are closely monitoring developments as new tariffs could significantly impact their operations and profitability. The uncertainties around trade negotiations continue to contribute to market volatility. And this is important to a lot of Americans because they say that the stock market surged. So even though I used to give financial classes with my Robinhood portfolio, I'm going to show you guys here. Let's see if it went up. Let's see if my portfolio went up. Let's see if it's true. Let's verify and check the news. Oh boy. This is why I don't look at my portfolio every day, because your portfolio and all the different stocks, whether you have individual stocks, ETF, exchange traded funds, or you have index stocks. Okay, don't do mutual funds. And just a quick note, since we're talking about finance anyway, your 401k is at your job. Your 401k at your job. A lot of you guys just set it and forget it. What you should do is reach out to the 401k holder. Would it be Fidelity, Charles Schwab, Edward Jones, Raymond Jones, whatever. Whoever has your 401k for your job, reach out to them and ask them, is your 401k, which is a basket of stocks, okay? These are funds that you guys are investing in. 401k is not just investing in Tesla. It is not just investing in one stock. Is investing in a multitude of different variations of different stocks in different markets, because that way it's very diversified. And when one market goes down, another market goes up. So you're always making money. But a lot of times, S&P 500, New York Stock Exchange, the Dow, all these things go down. So your portfolio goes down. But the key with this is ensure that your portfolio is not mixed and mastered with a lot of mutual funds, because mutual funds are actively managed, meaning that you have a stock investor, you have a stockbroker who is looking at the basket of stocks that you have in your 401k. Picture a basket of stocks, okay? Let's just picture that you have all these different stocks in your 401k. This cup right here is your 401k, and you got Tesla, Apple, Google, Microsoft, Cisco System, Ford, GM Motors. You got it all in here, and you invested in all these stocks, which makes up your 401k portfolio, what makes up your 401k fund. Now, the problem is the vehicle, not the stocks. The stock's going to operate however the economy is operating. They're going to go up, they're going to go down. They're going to go up, they're going to go down. The vehicle is what matters. If your 401k is comprised of being a mutual fund, where it's actively managed and you have a stockbroker that is exchanging stocks out so you can get the highest return, guess what is also happening behind closed door? You have commission prices. You have transactional prices. You have more transactions, so you're going to have more taxes. There's a lot of hidden costs with mutual funds. And because they're actively managed, all those transactions back and forth of them replacing stocks, you're going to raise your taxes each and every year. So your 401k should be made of, the vehicle should operate like an ETF or index funds, which are passively managed. Now, a lot of the terminology that I use here, if you don't understand, I'm not going to make this financial video. Please go and define it. But hopefully that gave you guys a bigger picture very quickly. Now, they said that the stock market surged. Let me just go back till tomorrow. Okay, March 3rd. This is March 4th. I was down 2,000. This is yesterday. So again, it did go up yesterday, but as you notice, it's down this morning. And again, the stock market is very emotional. Donald Trump says he's putting 25% tariffs on Canada and Mexico. My stock portfolio dipped. He come out late yesterday, he stated that, hey, I'm going to ensure that these car makers, even though I don't have these car makers part of my portfolio, I'll let you guys know the car makers I have. Was it GM, Ford, and Stellantis? They have allowed them to be exempt temporarily. Now, as I'm looking at my portfolio here, and I'll blow this up. I'm looking at my portfolio. See Bitcoin, Ethereum, XRP, also known as Ripple, Trump coin, that's down, Doge. And again, I may lose money on Trump and Doge by the way of Elon Musk. It's a gamble. I'm not going to lie. Even though investing is not gambling, but it's a gamble. Let's see here. NIO's electric vehicle car maker out of China that when Donald Trump was first in office, that really hurt my stock, but I'm not mad. It is what it is. Hopefully it bounced back. If not, it'll be there for my kids and they'll be losing $2,300 or $2,500. Plug, electric company, Apple, Grow Generation, Tesla's American car company, okay, by the way of Elon Musk, Triple Q, this is a fund, Blink Energy, okay, Coinbase, 3D printing, Robinhood, Amazon, Snap, WEX, LX. Yeah, I think that's all the car makers. Nope. Xpeng, that is a Chinese automaker as well. Let's see how they're doing. And I'm not going to make this a financial video. I'm just looking at my portfolio. Okay, I'm up $222. And it states here that it engaged in design, development, manufacture, and marketing of smart electric vehicles that produce environmentally friendly vehicles. Okay, four-door sports sedan. Again, this is out of China. And let me tell you something. A lot of people are like, why are you not just investing in American stocks? No American. Whoever invested only invest in American stocks. Because when the American stock markets or when the American, and again, a lot of these stocks are listed on the American stock markets, but again, diversify. You're going to hear that. And you need to be strategic about your diversification because we can get into emerging markets, we can get into U.S. markets, international markets, Forex trading. There's many different vehicles you guys can invest your money in. But let me tell you, I'm going to let the cat out the bag. I don't know if anybody ever told you this because you wonder why your stocks are going up and your stock is going down. Why isn't it climbing? You heard that their profit return for this year because the stock market is ran by politics. Whatever these politicians say and do, you will see a direct reflection. Okay, you will see a direct reflection in your stock portfolio. I'm just letting you guys know. And last but not least, this is one of those things where I kind of give you an interesting story. Remember I was telling you guys about the Indian rolls. I keep saying the Indian dolls. I want to point something out very quickly. Yeah, it's called the dolls rolls, okay? And I want to point this up that the dolls rolls are a list of people who were approved of tribal membership in the 5 civilized tribes. The tribes are the Cherokees, the Chickasaws, the Choctaws, the Creeks, and the Seminoles. And the Dawes Act of 1887 established a federal commission to create the rolls. Now, the commission approved applicants and documented those who were rejected or considered doubtful. And during this time, they had whereas though people could pay $5. And during that time, $5 was a lot of money. They could pay $5 to be put on the Dawes rolls to can be considered a Native American. So they can be considered a tribal member of one of those 5 tribes. Okay. This is very important. Now, and I'll bring this over here. Let me just bring this over here very quickly so you guys can see what I'm referring to. Okay. You can read it for yourself. And to the right, you can look at the sources. So the National Archives, as well as the Oklahoma Historical Society. So you guys can look more inside of these, the Dawes rolls. Okay. And you ever heard the term $5 Indian? Have you guys ever heard the term $5 Indian? That is because a large amount of Caucasian folk during that time paid $5 so they could be considered Native Americans because they understood at the time that the federal government was making Native American tribes tax exempt. They were giving them land. They were giving them their own budget by the way of the Bureau of Indian Affairs. So they wanted to capitalize on those benefits. So they paid the $5. And for a long time, a lot of white folks, not all white folks, I'm not talking about the people who are not doing it, consider themselves Native Americans. So this next clip, very quickly, they're being called out about this. These today $5 Indians. They're being called out. And I want you guys to listen in on this. It's only a minute. Let me back this up.
I would just urge those who want to have a second forum to keep your eye on the issue here. The issue is that the individuals in these groups do not have Abenaki ancestry. They have great stories.
Who determines that?
Because I've actually
Who determines that?
I actually did the genealogies of every single family that they place in their own documentation. And there's no Abenaki ancestors. That's it. That's the story. You had a flawed process that recognized people who have no Abenaki ancestry, and now you have individuals who are upset because of that, because there's a possibility that truth will come out. But that was never part of the process. I have all of the documents. You can access them yourself. This is a serious problem that you've engaged in.
Now, just let me tell you, those are the whitest Native Americans that I've ever seen in my entire life. I'm not kidding. Now, I'm just going to do a Google search, okay? I'm going to type in Native Americans. Let me show you. I want to make sure that I'm being very transparent. Native Americans, I'm going to go to images. Let's see some of these Native Americans, okay? They're very brown. As the people said, red Indians, okay, very brown, look almost slightly Asian. They have a particular look, okay? Especially if we look at these older pictures of Native Americans, high cheekbones. They have very close eye, to a point where it, again, has almost, again, Native Americans have Asian ancestry. They always contribute that these are Mongolian type Native Americans that came across the Bering Strait, came across this when the tectonic plates were together before the earth separated, blah, 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 blah. But Native Americans slightly look Asian and they slightly look Hispanic, Latino in some regards. And a lot of them actually look like a mixture because, again, you speak to a lot of Hispanic folks, they will let you know that their bloodlines are part of some sort of Native American tribe. Right. I know a buddy of mine, his name was Dominguez. His name was Dominguez, another fellow US soldier, great guy. And Dominguez, he used to have all these tattoos. And I was just very intrigued. Like, what are those tattoos about? He said, this is from this is from my Native American bloodline. These are Aztecians. These are Aztecs. I was like, oh. So is this one of the reasons why they don't consider Native Americans a race? I mean, excuse me, they don't consider Mexicans or Hispanics a race because you guys are a mixture of different people. He said, exactly. He said, I am mixed with Aztecians, Tainos, and Spaniard, but I'm Mexican. I said, I got it. I got it. That's why when you go to uscensus.bureau.gov, when you go to uscensusbureau.gov, you'll see the races, and you never see Hispanic as a race. You see it as an ethnic because there's such a large mix that Hispanic folk are a part of. You have white looking Hispanics, and you have brown looking Hispanics, and you have dark looking Hispanics, and they can all consider themselves whatever they want to consider themselves. Oh, I'm Ecuadorian, I'm Honduran, I'm Mexican, I'm this, I'm that, I'm this, or I'm white, or I'm brown, or I'm black. I just have Mexican, El Salvadorian history or ancestry or phenotype, but I am this. This is why I was born and raised. Because again, why do people just think that a lot of the enslaved Africans for hundreds of years back, thousands of years back, just dropped off slaves in South America and America? Don't forget, majority of the enslaved people of Africa went to Brazil. The largest, the largest group of black people outside of Africa is in Brazil, is in South America, then America. The thing is, and this is just the truth, the most influential black people in the world are Black Americans. That's just the truth. I can just go down a list of our achievements, innovations, and inventions. I'm not saying that no other group can compare, no other group, talking about from the black groups around the world, that they haven't done great things. I'm not saying that. But when you put a list together, it's undeniable that we're top of the charts nonetheless. In all categories. Okay, I'm not talking about sports and music and all of that. I'm talking about innovations, inventions that transform the entire world. Thank you guys for joining me here this morning. That's all I have for you guys. You guys have a great and wonderful day. This is Black.